LoreWarrior Campaign, 4th Succession War, War with the Free Worlds League, Reluctant Marik. When the 4th Succession War erupted, the Free Worlds League was as surprised as the Capellan Confederation. Captain General Janos Marik, ruler of the shaky alliance of semi-autonomous provinces, felt that his realm would be the first to suffer because of the Federated Commonwealth Alliance. He and his military analysts had spent months poring over the options and repeatedly came to the conclusion that the Commonwealth would attack them. The Captain General's fear of invasion was one of the major reasons he signed the Concord of Captain, which loosely allied his realm with the Confederation and the Combine. It eased his mind, knowing that he could call on two others for assistance. When reports started coming in from the Confederation about the Davian invasions, from the Draconis Combine about the Commonwealth invasion, Janos Marik was stunned. Some sources reported that he actually asked for confirmation from the Confederation and the Combine, as well as demanding that his units along the Commonwealth border report for all quiet. After being reassured that his realm wasn't being invaded, the Captain General thought it best to sit back and do nothing. As the only realm now not involved in a major conflict, he could only gain by staying aloof. Let the fools knock themselves dizzy, while we sit back, rest and enjoy. That was his attitude. It was an attitude not long tolerated by the Chancellor of the Confederation or the Coordinator of the Combine. 3 weeks into the fighting, Chancellor Lau sent a strongly worded communique requesting supplies and spare parts. He also demanded that the Free Worlds League provide refuge for some of his units and open its hospitals to Capellan casualties. The Captain General, angered by the tone of this message, sent one freighter with a dropship's worth of rations, tyres and toilet paper. Janos Marik grudgingly agreed to the other demands, access to the League hospitals and permission for a few closely watched Capellan units to land on League border worlds. A week later, an equally strong message came from Coordinator Takashi Kirita, demanding that the Marik forces launch an immediate offensive against the Lyran Commonwealth and force Steiner to fight a two-front war. As much as Janos Marik might have wanted to treat the demand with as much flippancy as he did the first, to anger Takashi Kirita would have been a dangerous move. With great reluctance, then, the Captain General set in motion what became Operation Dagger. Planning the offensive was probably the easiest task. Dusting off computer simulations and updating them gave Janos a reasonable attack plan. Persuading provincial leaders to join him in attacking the Commonwealth was a more difficult chore. The Home Defence Act, i.e. the right to call back a province's forces on command, made any military action by the Free Worlds League an exercise in delicate diplomacy. The Captain General won the support of the Duchy of Orienta, the Principality of Regulus, and most minor provinces. Only the Duchy of Andurian, led by Dame Catherine Humphreys, would refuse, ordering its forces on the Commonwealth border to prepare for a return to her duchy. Her objection to the offensive was aimed at the wrong enemy, though. The Capellan Confederation, already in chaos, was the better target for the League. Despite this refusal, though, the Captain General was pleased to get the support of 2 of the 3 major provinces. Operation Dagger. Operation Dagger was not a broad offensive. Along most of the border, the Marik forces were to conduct heavy raiding and probe for any weaknesses in the Commonwealth defences. Then, reserve forces would capitalise on weaknesses to either seize a world or destroy an isolated Commonwealth unit. The focus of Operation Dagger was to be a thrust into the Federation of Sky, which was thinly defended and had most of the Commonwealth's industries. To seize worlds there would be a boon to both the Free Worlds League and to Janos Marik. The offensive was also meant to satisfy Kirita by threatening to pinch off the Commonwealth's access to Terra, making travel to and from the Federated Suns more difficult for the Lyrans. The offensive would begin by the 1st of October, with the appearance of the 5th Regulan Hussars and the 25th Marik Militia in the Commonwealth system of Wyatt. At the same time, Smithson's Chinese bandits were attacking Milton, and the 30th Marik Militia were attacking Thector. The objective of all 3 attacks were to isolate and destroy the 17th Arcturan Guards and the 11th Lyran Guards stationed on Wyatt. Unfortunately for the Free Worlds League, both Commonwealth regiments had been tipped off 2 weeks prior to the attack. The Hussars entered the Wyatt system at a non-standard point to make immediate drops on the planet, and the militia appeared at the Zenith jump point. There, the militia received a rude welcome. The 11th Lyran Guards were waiting for them. While the mechs of the Lyrans were strapped into their dropships, on their jump ships, their fighters were slowly circling the point and waiting. The militia ships appeared, the Lyran fighters accelerated, and began strafing in pairs. Before the fighters of the Marik militia even received their order to launch, the Commonwealth Chippewas and Lucifers had scored major hits against 2 Union ships and a Leopard. The Commonwealth fighters made just one pass before returning to their ships, but it was enough. One of the dropships carrying a battalion command staff exploded and damaged neighbouring dropships shortly after they'd separated from an Invader-class jumpship. With the Marik militia fighters still disorganised, the jumpships of the Lyran Guards retrieved their fighters and made the journey to Alchiba. They immediately recharged and moved on to Alioth, while the Arcturian Guards travelled to Kor Karoli. All along the border, LCAF troops were pulling back to more defensive planets, or to cover undefended worlds. The Cien Hotheads moved to Gakrux, the 32nd Lyran Guards left Solaris, which already was defended by the 10th Sky Rangers, for Zania. The 2nd Donegal Guards left Hyde, protected by the 5th Donegal Guards, to cover Rana. Greg's Longstriders, a mercenary regiment, went from Ford to Gina, and the Stealthy Tigers left Lorik to protect Geosaur. The LCAF wasn't repositioning its forces to prevent the Free Worlds League from invading, but to make Marik forces pay more dearly. The strategy was to allow slow advances to prevent a Marik breakthrough. The Archon could afford to lose a few worlds to the Marik family because she knew that the future, if the luck of the fox held, would soon give Janos plenty to fear. Along with the major thrust into the Federation of Sky, Marik units conducted raids against Commonwealth worlds. In some cases, they were surprised by the presence of strong Commonwealth mech regiments, and in others they were surprised by the absence of Commonwealth mechs at all. On Polspo, the veteran 6th Orloff Grenadiers met the Green 1st Knights of St. Cameron. After a few skirmishes, which the Grenadiers won easily, the unit's commander, Colonel Hosen Chi Lung, approved the jump of 20 conventional League regiments into the Polspo system. Marik forces captured Timbiki and Launum, neither of which were defended by mech regiments. Overview. The failure of Marik forces to capture and destroy the 11th Lyran Guards and the 17th Arcturian Guards on Wyatt was a very inauspicious start for Operation Dagger, which was worsened by the 25th Marik militia losses. Still, the operation netted the Free Worlds League Wyatt, Fector, Milton, Launum, and Timbiki. That pleased Janos Marik. His pleasure later turned to grave concern when, on the 2nd of December, he received word that a Scarborough hospital treating Capellan wounded had been bombed, causing many deaths. Also on Scarborough were the remnants of a Capellan tank regiment that was being refitted and rested before its return to the Confederation. Soldiers in the tank regiment lost many friends in the explosion, and before common sense could prevail, the Capellans attacked the local police station, claiming that the bombing of the hospital was an Andurian plot. The 4th Andurian defenders brutally suppressed the Capellans, and now enraged at the accusations and the deaths that occurred because of the Capellans, Dame Catherine Humphreys declared war on the Confederation, her troops immediately seizing the Capellan world of Paladane and invaded others. The Captain General sent many urgent messages to Andurian and Cyan in the hopes of stopping a war in its early stages, but by the end of 3028, Janos Marik's hope of staying aloof from the fighting had now been completely and utterly dashed, as he found himself engaged on not just one, but 2 fronts.